I want to take a few minutes and share with you a perspective that I believe we have to examine as we approach the primary elections on May the 29th. First of all, the public needs to know that early voting begins on May the 14th, and this is a golden opportunity to rearrange, to change the political landscape in the place that we've chosen to make a living, the place that we've chosen to make our home. First and foremost, it's important for you to understand that I have no connections with the history of corruption that has built a cancer and a cancerous cell in public office and public relations in El Paso County. I think that, if I can use a metaphor, the apples in the basket are rotten. It's time to pick one from the tree. Today is April the 3rd, and we have that many more weeks to get our homework done before we go into a polling place and make a decision that will ultimately shape the direction, destiny, and future of El Paso County politics, and at the national level, make sure that the assets and resources at the federal level are devoted to the services and needs of the 16th Congressional District. We will be speaking throughout El Paso, and we will accept invitations for anyone who has a chance to see this video and has a specific concern about the direction that I believe we should move as El Pasoans, and to hear your ideas, thoughts, and concerns about where you think El Paso should go. One of my favorite questions to ask is very simple. List the first 3 things that you think government should be doing, and then ask yourself the question, what is the last 3 things you did to make those first 3 things happen? Our platform is a 5-point piece dealing with family, education, government, economics, and restoration. Now start at the last point first, because at the cornerstone of this campaign is a restoration of faith and confidence, some public trust in what government should and should not do. And we know that individuals who are in this race are connected to, affiliated with, and in some cases have done direct business dealings with persons who are part of the criminal element and part of the cancer of corruption that exists in the 16th Congressional District in El Paso County. LKG Mental Health Services, as an example, a $600,000 contract brokered at the county level helped to be put in place by Congressman Sylvester Reyes, with questionable individuals now who are under indictment, one being Chilo Madrid, the other one being Sonny Garcia. Those questions are unanswered. If you take a look at concerns regarding ethics questions from our former city council representative, those questions remain unanswered as well. If you pause and think and remember the John Edwards story, had John Edwards, who was a front runner for the nomination to the Democratic Party's position as its presidential candidate, consider what would have happened if we had nominated John Edwards and then his transgressions would have later been revealed. Consider the cost factor, not only in terms of dollars and cents, but a further erosion of the public image of persons in public office. We can and we should do better. We need to restore the faith, hope, and confidence in people who pay their taxes, do their jobs, and perform services for this community. We owe them the best government that we can. And those persons who have been tied to government in El Paso County are more tied to the problem than to the solution. Those who raise the most money also raise the most suspicion. And I encourage everyone who has the ability to view this video to do diligence, do the necessary vetting, find out in detail who and what your candidates are about, and make sure that when you vote, that you vote smart. Moving up the scale, let's talk about economics. Sylvester Reyes and Beto O'Rourke have a combined total time in public office of 22 years. You would think that within those 22 years, we would see a much better economic circumstance in El Paso County. But what do we suffer from? And for the duration of their time in office, for most of their tenure, is double-digit unemployment. Our per capita income is 30% below the national average. There is a wage gap median income is $22,000 less than the rest of America. There is a wage gap in the gender area. For every dollar a man makes in El Paso County, a woman doing the same job only earns 75 cents. Half of the children in El Paso County are hungry right now. If you examine the double-digit unemployment track record that we do have and we suffer from, those are at the hands of individuals who have collectively been in office for more than 22 years. We have been poor since I got here. We are poor now. We are overtaxed, underpaid, overworked, and live next door to the drug war capital of the planet. We can do better. I want to make several different distinctions in the areas of economics that clearly distinguish me from the other two individuals in this race. And actually, there are actually three other individuals in the race. We have got to look at the fact that there is a drug war next door. Look at the assets and resources that we have devoted to that and then compare it to where we have devoted assets and resources in the past. 7,000 miles across the ocean and into the Mediterranean Sea, we put a fleet off of the coast of Libya in the name and for the sake of humanitarian efforts. $333,000 a minute to deal with a civil war situation that other countries had suffered through. We called it the Arab Spring. No level of United States involvement helped create the Egyptian success, the Tunisian success, the Algerian success, Morocco's successes, and all of the great political changes that have taken place in that region. But we'll go 7,000 miles across the ocean to deal with that problem, but we won't cross the Rio Grande to help 47, almost 50,000 people who have been killed as a result of an insatiable appetite for illegal drugs in the United States. Mexicans are being killed as we speak. What is the O'Rourke recommendation? That we entertain conversation about legalizing banned substances on this side of the border as a way to mitigate, to improve, or to reduce the level of violence on that side. If you take a look at the number of drug addicts that we are addressing already who are on the tax dollar dime, that's over 100,000 reported to us by persons who have custodial responsibility for addictions in El Paso County. 100,000. Why would we add an additional menu item on the menu of bad choices that people are making when it comes to drugs and drug addiction in the United States? That is the O'Rourke recommendation. If you take a look at the incumbent's recommendation, this is Congressman Sylvester Reyes. Examine the program and please research these items. The program is called Fast and Furious. Under the Fast and Furious program, the United States government sanctioned weapons sales to the narcotics leadership in the country of Mexico and in its various sub-states. What have we done by doing that? We have armed the very people who we are attempting to fight to suppress drug trafficking in the area. What are they doing? Look at the population in El Paso. For every 4 El Pasoans, 3 have family members who live in Juarez or other places throughout Mexico. What have we done by putting American-made weapons and bullets into the hands of the narcotics leadership in our neighbor to the south? We have armed them and helped them commit what can only be termed as fratricide, killing each other. Consider the family members who live in the 16th Congressional District who fear traveling into Mexico or parts thereof because they are living in risk. They're living at risk. There's no telling from day to day what the next group of casualties are going to be as a result of this drug war. I'm a school teacher here in the 16th Congressional District, and our classrooms have been inundated with persons who are fleeing the violence in Mexico. Yet the Secretary of State for Mexico, invited here by the Congressman, tells us that there is no drug war next door and that we have no refugees in El Paso. That is patently false. Yet, Sylvester Reyes encouraged and applauded the comments made by the Secretary of State Alejandro Puig when he made such a statement. We have got to have more reasonable and logical discussions about the true nature of drug violence on the border and solid common sense recommendations for their solution.